So essentially what NIRAB does is it's trying to help the government make the decisions of what do we do with our civil plutonium in the short term. What sort of ideas should we be pursuing for reactor, small modular reactor design? What kind of fuel cycle research and options should we be carrying out? So members, point of personal experience, we meet 4 times a year, and then we have something called NIRO, a Nuclear Industry Research Organisation, which actually does the nitty-gritty. It's only been going a year or so, but already we've had significant progress, and in particular, I want to come through actually to something called to do with the academic activities. How long have I got left?
You can
Can I? Okay, right. And I'll show you what it's done. I think I've got all the logos here. I've collected all the logos over periods of time of the different universities which are nuclear active. We've done an analysis to sort of look at where the experience is, and you can see it really is widely distributed indeed. There are lots of UK universities. Manchester's the largest nuclear active university. Imperial is also significant in this regard, but actually there's lots of experience in lots of the areas. If I go up to somewhere like Strathclyde, for example, they're certainly much more focused on decommissioning and cleanup type of activities. So different universities have started to self-assemble into specific areas of interest.
Can I ask you a question on that? Are the universities talking to one another, or are they all doing their own thing?
So the UK nuclear academics discussion meetings, which take place as we started those off in 2012. Now it looks like the numbers are getting smaller. In fact, they aren't. It's just the photographs are getting worse. In fact, the numbers are slightly increasing. So this is the idea that we've had here. So I'm trying to set this up essentially so that there are no PhDs, no postdocs allowed at these meetings, just people who run research groups. And every year I start by saying to everybody, your job at this meeting is to plot and scheme. You know, academics like plotting and scheming. And the idea is to come up with new ideas and new ways of working to take those ideas to the Engineering and Physical Sciences Research Council, the Research Councils UK generally, and say, look, we would really like to work in this particular area. And as a consequence of that, come up with new groupings which will get funded to do that types of research. So that's the job that they do. In the first half of the meeting every year we go through a litany. I get people from the research councils to speak, from Department of Energy and Climate Change, from BIS, and they get this big update. What's the landscape looking like at the moment? Where will we all start trying to go? Where are the research and funding opportunities? And then the rest of the 2 days is spent trying to work through that. We then also have an international aspect of that, which I'll say in a moment, but you have a question.
Pictures are worrying, bro. It is very male.
It is. Yeah, no, you are right. You are right.
Because of that, we don't have more innovation in the subject matter.
No, absolutely. Yes, it is a male-oriented, and if I look around this room, I would charge you with the same. It is. So what can we do about that? I would say the nuclear. I'm trying to think. I'm actually a fellow here. The Nuclear Academy essentially has the Young People's Group, and the Young People's Group is actually much better from that point of view. And in fact, the last 2 chairs of that is very, very active. Produces a thing called Nuclear Future magazine, which is really not bad at all. Actually, you know how society magazines are often not really great. This one is really good. Actually, I wonder what the connections are between South Africa and that in this regard. Something we ought to have a look at that actually. Anyway, the last 2 chairs have been eliminated. So I think coming through, there is a much better distribution. I bet you it's still not 50. It won't be 50. I bet in 10 years' time it won't be 50-50. But I'm hoping we'll have moved a lot closer. Don't know. Completely legitimate comment. There's also a lot of deals.
Is that a bigotry?
That's right. Yeah, anybody, we hand them out as people come in. So, the subject focus, so this gives you an idea of what those academics are really interested in. Field fabrication, all this graph really shows you is the fact that academically we have a very broad portfolio of interests indeed. And I do hope that South Africa will be a country that will want to have discussions and buy into some of the things that will buy into from an intellectual point of view as some of the things that we're doing.
I mean, just a question from me. Would that quite big chunk on cross-cutting technologies have been as big, you know, on the left, 25%? Would that have been as big a little while ago, or is that something that's increasing?
So one of the things that I've been trying to do actually is get some, so we have quite a lot of effort on fusion materials or fusion reactor technologies, which have traditionally been all about plasmas and things like this. And what's happened there is that they've moved to the materials challenges that they have, the first movement materials, diverted materials and so on. And it's all about radiation damage. So part of that in this particular case is because we've got that fusion community now to start working much better with the fission community. So I think that's been a really positive process. I won't go into the politics as to why that used to be and how it is no longer. But it all comes down to people, doesn't it? This is the Research Council's support for civil nuclear engineering. This is pretty much bang up to date. So the total at the moment is 85 million in this, and you can see there's training, nuclear systems. So this is the initial money that we got for new equipment. And you can see that materials again. You can see comes up as a very important part of this. Everything from stress corrosion, cracking or weld materials down through to bioremediation of contaminated land masses.
Sorry. On the previous slide, where would medical diagnostics and treatments fall?
That would be separate. That's separate to this. That's something I've not cracked yet in terms of getting the medical areas to come in and play with us. Now there's an MSc in Surrey, which I have been the external for, so I understand how we might be able to sort of make that progress. But we've only been going for 3 or 4 years. No, that is one of the, like the fusion issue, this again is something that we need to pay attention to. These are just examples of Research Council's consortia. It's the sort of thing that you would expect, and I guess I'm leaving these slides behind if anybody's interested in reading more of these sorts of details.